The proper mindset going in, starting with your projection. Never need to sign up the prospect. There's much to be said about the different aspects of how you project yourself to your prospects. Are you, for example, at risk of telegraphing that you're needy and that you need to enroll someone pronto? Some presentations are wasted because the prospect senses that the rep needs the sign-up. These sorts of messages can be telegraphed through vocal mannerisms, nervous reactions, body language, hesitancy, and in other subtle ways. But understand, you're operating a business practice which is often quickly paced, so time can become of the essence. So it's okay to move apace. For that matter, it's okay to want the sign-up. It's just not okay for the prospect to think you need it. An effective technique to help you maintain your not needy perspective is to preset in your mind as best you can that you are financially independent and do not technically need the business arrangement you're discussing with the prospect. Doing so helps maintain your relative distance from the prospect and keeps the setting businesslike and appropriately focused on the needs of the prospect and how C.A.R.S as a business might be able to help them. Stated another way, we're talking about the power of a great degree of personal optimism. A question set that helps state this would be,
why should I be interested in C.A.R.S?
Here, the rep replies warmly and matter-of-factly,
maybe you shouldn't, but let me ask you.
And here, proceed with your line of reasoning and simple questioning. The fact is, if you were really financially independent and didn't need the business, you would be balanced and objective. You would neither act arrogantly or beg for the business. That's the simple projection balance and sense of mission you can easily have in mind for dialogue settings with your prospects. As you develop your own recruitment style and presentation preferences, you're encouraged to shop around the material C.A.R.S provides you for any and all aspects of your recruitment approaches, activities, and comfort components. Setting the prospect stage. Yes is okay. No is okay. Anything else is not okay. As you told them over the phone, remind prospects now, in advance, that a yes is desirable, but a no is okay too. For the good of everyone involved, those are the only two acceptable answers. When interacting with your prospect, your objective is to uncover facts and the truth, even if it's not something you necessarily want to hear. After all, if the answer is going to be no, either from you or the prospect, and the prospect is, for any reason, not going to be a good fit as an agent, you want to know sooner rather than later. According to your own personality and style, come up with ways to leave a positive door open, or better, for mutual clarity with think-it-overs, ask them if their delay is a matter of timing, finances, or something else. Preparing to present. Identify those aspects of C.A.R.S that you routinely include in your own presentations and in your own style to demonstrate added value, whether the prospect has asked about them or not. Although you will not necessarily bring them out, you'll want them mentally and tangibly nearby and at hand. Prior to the presentation, identify where, during the presentation process, you can introduce those items in a way that tests the waters, determining their relevance to that prospect's situation and the prospect's level of interest in discussing them. Human psychological principles. Writer, lecturer, and trainer Dale Carnegie once said, "When dealing with people, remember you are not dealing with creatures of logic, but with creatures of emotion, creatures bristling with prejudice and motivated by pride and vanity." Astute reps who successfully make all or part of their livings interfacing with prospects understand the wisdom of Carnegie's observation and apply that wisdom each time they call on a prospect. In many respects, they are unlicensed psychologists who just happen to be representing a product or service instead of seeing patients reclining on a rolled and pleated leather couch in their office. Although no list can provide an in-depth analysis of the intricacies and subtleties of human behavior, the following 10 principles provide a solid high-level outline style overview. Use them to better understand your prospects. We all walk around with mental scripts written on in our younger years and throughout our lives by our parents and other authority figures. Our parents and early authority figures are always with us. DNA and chromosomes do not determine values, beliefs, prejudice, and fear. We learn these once the umbilical cord is cut. On the stage of life, many are still reading off scripts written long ago. We often do what we do because of the significant emotional events that shaped our early years. An adult who was a child of the Depression is different from an adult who was a child of the Vietnam era. Both are different from adults who grew up watching MTV. Knowing the events that affected people in their youth provides insight into what they believe as adults. We are all psychological icebergs with waterlines at different heights from one iceberg to the next. Most of an iceberg is not visible above the surface of the water, but is below the waterline. Similarly, many human fears, prejudices, and beliefs are unseen by others and are also unknown even to the individual. Behaviors are observable, motives and fears are not. Those people with a high waterline conceal their emotion. Others display their emotions more freely. People are all avoiders of pain and seekers of gratification or pleasure. This principle does not mean that people across the board are unbridled hedonists. Rather, it emphasizes the two major motivating forces of all human beings. People differ according to the relative power of pleasure and pain. It's vital to know which of these plays a bigger role for each person you hope to influence. You wouldn't want to offer pain avoidance to a pleasure seeker or vice versa. For optimum effectiveness, you need to know as much as you can about how each person exactly defines his or her pain or pleasure. We can all be described as having degrees of okayness and not okayness. A basic tenet of human behavior is that most people, regardless of how well they function in society, are victims of low self-esteem, insecurity, and other forms of emotional baggage. A study of the Harvard School of Medicine reported that 18% of the U.S. population not under any form of psychiatric care should be. Despite our unique personalities, the specific environment in which we find ourselves often shapes our behavior. Young people who escape environments of criminal activity tend to not pursue criminal activity, while those unable to escape often fall victim to the influence of ambient crime. Honest folks have been known to steal. Calm people sometimes blow up. Aggressive personalities will retreat under the right circumstance. The people around us and other pressures in a situation have powerful effects on our behavior. Where we are influences what we do. We all need more tender loving care. Research confirms that when babies are deprived of physical touching and cuddling, they grow up with more emotional problems than babies who receive physical interchange. As children mature, emotional interchange becomes as important as the physical. Survey after survey confirms that the #1 complaint employees have about their jobs is that they do not feel appreciated. They don't hear enough praise, recognition, and commendation from their bosses for the work they do. We hear what we want to hear and see what we want to see. No two people will interpret the same event in exactly the same way. This is borne out in the accounts of the life of Jesus Christ as penned by the 4 gospel writers. This does not mean that one is right and the other wrong. It simply means our perceptual filters differ because of our contrasted personalities, needs, and experiences. When our egos are threatened, we become defensive and sometimes attack. At our fundamental human base, we all need to feel safe and secure. When that security is threatened or our sense of self is imperiled, we become highly protective. We may even go beyond a defensive posture to attack the person challenging our well-being. Drugs, stimulants, diet, and sleep deprivation can affect our personalities. Drastic mood swings can be traced to changes in body chemistry, which are partially influenced by eating, drinking, and sleeping habits. Many people rely on caffeine in the morning, nicotine throughout the day, and alcohol in the evening, all of which alter their moods from their natural states. A large number of Americans get too little sleep and as a direct result lose their ability to deal effectively with the emotional pressures of life. 6 fears all prospects have. Fear could be the most powerful motivator affecting your prospects. In order to maintain an image of power and control, prospects may not reveal the underlying anxieties affecting their decisions. Some of these anxieties are obvious, others are subtle. You'll increase your effectiveness once you help your prospects discover their fears, show that you are sensitive to those fears, and lead prospects to the conclusion that what you offer will replace fear with peace of mind. Prospects are afraid that even though signing up as a cash card agent today looks like the thing to do, they'll regret that decision tomorrow, next week, or next month. In decision settings of this nature, this fear can sometimes increase in direct proportion to costs and the number of choices from which they must pick. Peer pressure does not lose impact once we leave our teens. By no means. We continue to vie for the approval and recognition of our peers. This fear increases if the prospect has strong social needs or has a high level of accountability within his marriage. Everyone always wants to feel good about themselves. Making the wrong decision and suffering the consequences of that error can cause self-respect to plummet. For some prospects, the wrong decision has implications outside just their line of work or how they expend their off hours as a part-time cash card agent. Over-consideration or too much deliberation of the cash card opportunity might signal this prospect to not be a good agent candidate. When an analysis paralysis sets in, it can often be time to close the chapter. Regardless of all the cash card has done to make becoming an agent as easy and painless as possible, plus assurances and guarantees from you, prospects may be more content to stick with the painful status quo than to opt for what they may see as an uncertain future. They may not like what they currently have, but at least they know what they currently have. The future can sometimes be too big a question mark to comfortably allow for the taking of any perceived risks. This fear is especially pronounced for prospects who tend to lack self-confidence. Like all people, prospects want to feel in control and have the upper hand. They want to call the shots, establish the agenda, and have autonomy. They are comforted by the power of being able to delay milestone decisions as long as they want. Once you interfere with that control, you may tend to reduce their power and actually elevate their fears.